What up? And welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna show you how I made this baked steak and potatoes. Now I got this, well, not really the recipe, but I made this because somebody requested I make this on my Instagram. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on YouTube too because I know they want to see how this happened too. So I just went ahead and I found some top sirloin steak and I'm just cubing them up. I'm just chopping the steak into cubes. Okay, you could do it however you want to, but you know, on here I show you what I do because everything is my way on my channel. You know, it's great. It's great. It's great. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and just subscribe. Join the fam. You know, it's more to see. So after I got done chopping them up, I threw them in a bowl, put the top on because I have to chop up my fresh garlic because, yeah, flavor. So I'm using 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, whole cloves of garlic. And we're gonna go ahead and mix it up. It's so easy in this vegetable chopper. It was sent to me, but you can get it on Amazon if you want an easy way to chop up your garlic. If you don't, you know, if you're tired of the knife method, I guess. But basically just chopping this up. Okay, chopping it up until it look like this. Okay, so it ain't even gonna take 5 minutes, but just continue pushing that, like pulling on that lever, and it's gonna be chopped up. And I threw that right on that steak. Okay, threw it right on there because this is gonna add to the marinade of it, because I'm gonna let it sit for a minute while I, you know, prepare everything else, because the longer you let it sit, the more those flavors can get into that meat. Okay, so I started off with some seasoning. Okay, a little bit of this Cajun style Kingsford seasoning. Flavors, I'm telling you, the flavors are crazy. Then I add a little bit of black pepper, but you know, everything will be at the bottom. If you look in the description box below, all the seasonings will be down there, so you don't really have to fret too much about that. And of course, like I said, everything is optional. Everything that I do is optional. You don't have to do the same thing, but if you want to know what I was tasting, you might want to follow these directions. Now, to top off the marinade, a little Worcestershire sauce, W sauce. Okay, go ahead and mix that together. Mix it well. Mix it well. Okay, you're gonna know it's well mixed when you see that every piece of meat is covered. Okay, everything should be covered. Everything. We don't want nothing tasting differently. Everything should be one, because once it all comes together, it should all taste as one. And when you get those flavors, it's gonna explode in your mouth like this. This is it. That's that well incorporated seasoning right there. Put the top on that. We're gonna go ahead and prep the potatoes. So I chopped them in half, and then I just basically cut them into quarters. Okay. I like mine's kind of smaller, like smaller shaped, I guess. I don't really like big chunks of stuff. Like, I gotta think about consistencies and textures and shapes. Like, I don't like huge things. Like, I like it to be bite-sized, not too big, because it's gonna, once it gets baked, the potatoes are gonna start, like, they're gonna get real soft and creamy anyway. You're gonna see. So that's all I'm doing right here. And make sure you have a nice bowl of cold water on the side of you, so you can just throw those right in there as you continue cutting the rest of your potatoes, so they don't turn brown or anything like that. So that's what I'm doing right there. But look at this. Look at the nose on this potato. Okay, that thing can smell everything. Okay, I ain't never seen no potato with a little extra junk in the trunk. I don't know if it's the trunk or the front, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. But basically, we gonna let the potatoes sweat a little bit. So I put a little olive oil in a skillet, and I'm basically just gonna let them sweat a little bit. We're gonna cook them halfway so we can decrease the time that it cooks in the oven. Okay, now I threw a little bit of garlic powder, black pepper, and some Creole seasoning on that. The rest of my Shawhan Farms Creole seasoning. Shawhan Farms, if you listening, I'm out. I'm out of my Creole rub. And you know, if you feel like sending some more, I'll take it. You know, I'll take it, because that's my favorite. So that's why I had to use the rest of that. Now, I didn't have to add paprika like I normally would on my potatoes, because that Creole rub, it had that, like, I don't know what's in it. Well, I know what's in it, but it almost gives a paprika color. You know what I'm saying? Because of everything in it. Because it got like chipotle peppers and different things in it inside of the seasoning, but it adds a nice color. So I didn't have to add no paprika, and I really love that for me. I really love that. So like I said, I'm just going to cook them for a little bit, maybe 10 minutes. Basically, cook them until they're halfway done and not all the way. Okay? And I just kept, every few minutes or so, I just kept stirring them just to make sure it didn't, like, you know, get stuck to the bottom. Because all I put was olive oil in here. I didn't put water yet. Because I want kind of like a nice crisp to them also. as well as being tender. You know, it's all about the consistency. So right now, that's all I'm doing. I'm just scraping it and mixing it up a little bit, just so they don't, you know, start to stick to the bottom. Because we're going to cook the steak in this also, okay? So once the potatoes are halfway done, we're going to put them in a non-stick baking dish, and then we're going to cook the steak in the same pan. Okay, so right here, I'm just adding a little water just so it can help the cooking up just a little bit. Because, you know, the potatoes are going to take the longest to cook out of everything when it comes to this. When it comes to baking potatoes, the potatoes are always going to take the longest. That's just in my opinion, though. So this was the halfway mark for me. This is when it was halfway. I could have cooked it longer than, maybe like a few minutes longer than that if I wanted to, but just cook it until they're almost done. Not all the way. Emphasis on not all the way. Okay? Listen to me now. I ain't gonna steer you wrong. So just go ahead and mix it up. And this is what I was saying. Just put it in a non-stick baking dish, and we're gonna start prepping the steak. Now the steak, we are gonna be cooking that not all the way through also. It just basically, everything that I'm doing is basically to decrease the time that it cooks in the oven. Because I do the same thing when I cook like my stuffed chicken breast and stuff like that. Cook it halfway on the stove. So then when you throw it in the oven, you ain't gonna have to wait that long. It's just gonna finish the cooking for you. Yes, that's what it's gonna do. So that's the steak. We just go ahead and cook that maybe like just a couple minutes. Not even that long, just a couple minutes. Okay? Because I like my steak nice and juicy and nice and tender. Juicy and tender at the same, like just both at the same time. Okay? So this right here, we just gonna let it cook. And this is when I stopped. This is when I stopped because I'm on like a medium heat right here. I made sure I didn't put it on like no super high heat because like I said, I didn't want it to cook all the way through because I'm still putting it in the oven. Okay. Now, I am going to be adding some veggies because I thought I was just going to just leave it at that and just add like some peppers and onions, which I still did. I thought because it just looked too plain, like just having steak and potato just by itself like that. So I was like, I got to add some color. Okay. This was last minute, but I was like, you know what? I need to add a little bit of color. I looked at my kitchen to see what I had. And I had the rest of this Trader Joe's fire roasted peppers and onions. I had like a little bit left of that. So I just used the rest of that. That's a lot of flavor. That fire roasted, it's a lot of flavor. I love Trader Joe's. They be having some gems in there if y'all don't be knowing. Like if you got a Trader Joe's near you, go up in there and see what you can find. They got some nice stuff for some decent prices. Organic. I love that. So I added those peppers, and then at the last minute, I decided to add these frozen broccoli cuts. I really could have did this on the side because it ended up cooking. It almost like you couldn't even see the broccoli no more. So that the broccoli is optional, and I would recommend that you put the broccoli. Or if you want to cook the broccoli with it, since the broccoli won't take the longest, it take the quickest, put it in like when it's almost done. So I would not recommend putting it in right here if you don't want your broccoli to be soggy when it's cooking, because you know, like I said, the potatoes gonna take the longest. So I topped it with some more seasoning, and I put some butter on top, and I'm not covering it. So it is gonna be a lot of, like I said, taking it out of the oven and stirring it up. I added some cheddar jack cheese and some Parmesan cheese at the last minute because I just wanted it kind of like a binder, and cheese always binds everything together. You know what I'm saying? And Parmesan, it's just a lot of added flavor, additional flavor. We do this with the flavors, and we need all that. We need all of that. Okay? But it's just me adding my Parmesan cheese. This was at one of the, because every like 25 minutes or so, I kept taking it out and stirring it up. So this was when I was stirring it up. And you see the broccoli, you can still see the green color. But since I had to put it back in, that other little 30 minutes or so that I had it in there, the broccoli, it was overcooked. So I would recommend like basically putting it in right there. So if you cook it for about a good 30 minutes, because I got it on 385, and I cooked it for about a good hour, or until you get them potatoes tender. That's why I said keep taking it out maybe 25 minutes, every 25 minutes to stir it up. See how tender the potatoes is and all that. Because the steak about done. The longest thing that it's going to take to cook is the potatoes, okay? That's going to be the reason that you keep checking on it and stirring it up. Because you can cover it if you want to. If you have some aluminum foil to cover it, do that. I didn't have no aluminum foil, and I don't mind checking on it and stirring it up. So after I stirred it up, I added a little bit of more seasoning because you could taste it. Make sure you taste it. Taste as you go, okay? You could do that right now. Everything is almost done. This was the finished product. Now you see what I said about the broccoli. Now you can make sure you just do that on the side if you want your broccoli to still be that bright green color that it should be. But this was it. I hope y'all love this. I hope y'all make this. Follow me on my Instagram. Okay. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. There you go. Follow my Instagram. We trying to get to 10K. Okay.